Have you ever felt like the entire world was collapsing around you? Like every door was slammed shut, every hope extinguished, every dream shattered into 1,000 pieces? There's a moment in every human life when we stand at the edge of the abyss, staring into darkness so profound that even our own shadow seems to abandon us. But what if I told you that it's precisely in that moment of absolute desperation that something extraordinary can emerge? Today, we're diving deep into a journey that defies logic, challenges our understanding of human resilience, and proves that faith isn't just a word we say in church. It's a force that can move mountains when everything else fails. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might change the way you see your own struggles forever. Every remarkable story of faith begins with a breaking point, that critical moment when circumstances become so overwhelming that surrender seems like the only logical option. Imagine waking up one morning to discover that everything you've built has crumbled overnight. Your health is failing, your finances are in ruins, your relationships are torn apart, and the future that once seemed so bright now appears darker than the deepest night. It's in these moments that we discover who we really are beneath the masks we wear for society. The breaking point isn't just about external circumstances. It's about the internal crisis that forces us to confront our deepest fears and our desperate need for something greater than ourselves. When you're stripped of everything you thought defined you, what remains? That question is also the gateway to transformation. In the midst of chaos, there's always a whisper, so quiet that most people miss it entirely. It's not a loud voice or a dramatic sign. It's subtle, like the first ray of sunlight breaking through storm clouds. This whisper comes in different forms: a memory of better times, an unexpected act of kindness from a stranger, a verse that suddenly makes sense, or simply an inexplicable feeling that you're not alone in your suffering. Faith doesn't usually announce itself with trumpets and thunder. It begins as a gentle invitation that says, maybe there's another way. Maybe this isn't the end. The tragedy is that so many people ignore this whisper because they're too focused on the roar of their problems. But those who pause, who quiet their minds long enough to hear it, discover that this whisper is actually the beginning of a conversation with the divine. Choosing faith when everything around you screams the opposite isn't natural, it's supernatural. It requires a conscious decision that goes against every logical calculation, every rational thought, every piece of evidence your eyes can see. This decision isn't made once. It's made 1,000 times a day, moment by moment, especially when new challenges arise and old wounds reopen. The decision to believe is an act of rebellion against circumstances. It's saying to the universe, I refuse to let what I see determine what I believe. When you make this decision, something shifts in the atmosphere around you, not immediately in your circumstances, but first in your spirit. You stand differently, speak differently, see differently. You become a person who carries hope into hopeless situations, who brings light into dark rooms, who refuses to surrender even when surrender would be easier. Here's what nobody tells you about faith. The moment you decide to believe is precisely when the real testing begins. The tests come in waves: unexpected setbacks, crushing disappointments, delays that feel like denials, and silence when you desperately need to hear a voice. This testing ground is where most people abandon their faith. They interpret the continued struggle as evidence that faith doesn't work, that God isn't listening, that they're alone after all. But the testing isn't punishment, it's refinement. Like gold that must pass through fire to reveal its purity, faith must be tested to transform from mere belief into unshakable conviction. Every test passed, every temptation to quit that you resist, every morning you choose hope despite the darkness. These are building blocks of a faith that cannot be destroyed. In the darkest chapters of our journey, when we feel most isolated and alone, unexpected allies begin to appear. Sometimes it's not your closest friends or family members who show up. It's strangers, acquaintances, or people you barely know who suddenly become instruments of divine provision and encouragement. They appear at precisely the right moment, as if orchestrated by an invisible hand. One person brings a job opportunity when your bank account hits zero. Another shares their own story of overcoming, reminding you that survival is possible. A stranger says something that answers the question you prayed about that morning. These aren't coincidences. They're confirmations that your faith is connecting you to a network of divine appointments. Recognition of these allies is itself an act of faith, because it requires seeing beyond the surface to recognize the sacred in the ordinary. While you're waiting for your circumstances to change, something more profound is happening. You're changing. The person who emerges from the fire of faith isn't the same person who entered it. Your priorities shift, your values deepen, your perspective expands. Things that once seemed essential now appear trivial. Your definition of success, happiness, and security undergoes a complete renovation. This transformation isn't comfortable. It feels like dying in certain ways, the death of old dreams, old identities, old ways of thinking. But it's actually rebirth. You're being reformed from the inside out, becoming someone stronger, wiser, more compassionate, more resilient. This transformation is the real miracle, even more significant than any external change in circumstances, because it's permanent. Once you've been transformed by authentic faith, you can never return to who you were before. And then, often when you least expect it, the breakthrough comes. Not always in the form you imagined or on the timeline you demanded, but it comes. It might be sudden and dramatic, like a door flying open after years of being locked. Or it might be gradual and subtle, like dawn breaking so slowly you don't realize it's happening until you're standing in full daylight. The breakthrough isn't just about circumstances improving, it's about suddenly seeing clearly what was always there but invisible to your eyes. It's understanding that you were never actually alone, that every step was guided, that even the delays were strategic. The breakthrough moment is when heaven's timing and your readiness finally align. And in that moment, you realize that every tear, every prayer, every moment of doubt you pushed through, it was all preparation for this. Your story of surviving against all odds doesn't belong to you alone. It becomes a testimony meant to inspire others. This is perhaps the most beautiful purpose of suffering overcome by faith. It transforms into hope for someone else facing their own impossible situation. Your breakthrough becomes their permission to believe. Your survival becomes their roadmap. Your testimony becomes their encouragement. When you speak about the valley, you do so with authority because you've walked it. Your testimony is proof that faith isn't just a religious concept. It's a life-changing, circumstance-altering, destiny-shifting reality. The most powerful testimonies aren't always the dramatic ones with instant miracles. Sometimes the most compelling stories are about those who held on through years of silence, who believed when believing made no sense, who kept walking when every muscle screamed to stop. What happens to you never stops with you. Your victory creates ripples that extend far beyond your immediate circle, touching lives you'll never meet, inspiring people in situations you'll never hear about. This is the mysterious mathematics of faith. One person's breakthrough multiplies into courage for countless others. A single conversation about your journey might plant a seed that grows into someone else's transformation years later. Your story isn't just about you getting through. It's about creating pathways for others to follow, lighting torches that illuminate someone else's dark tunnel, proving that the God who showed up for you will show up for them too. So where does this leave us? This story isn't just about someone else. It's about you. It's about every person who's ever felt like giving up, who's ever wondered if holding on was worth it, who's ever questioned whether faith was real or just wishful thinking. Against all odds isn't just a phrase, it's a promise. It's the guarantee that when you combine human faith with divine faithfulness, impossibilities become possibilities, valleys become victory stories, and testimonies are born from tests. Your current struggle, whatever it is, isn't the end of your story. It's the middle, the part where the protagonist faces the greatest challenge before the breakthrough comes. I want to hear from you. What's the impossible situation you're facing right now? Drop it in the comments below, because your courage to share might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to keep going. If this message resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Give this video a thumbs up if you're ready to see your own against all odds story unfold. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. And remember, your faith isn't just about you. It's about everyone whose life will be changed because you refuse to give up. Until next time, keep believing, keep fighting, keep trusting. Your breakthrough is coming.